Well, guys, a win is a win, and we ought to be thankful for it. Yesterday's lackluster win over the Austin Peay Governors was not something to write home about, and we've got a lot of issues we need to look at, identify, and let's see if we can fix them. Uh, the coaches have a week to go under the hood and get this thing fine-tuned.
Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
We got multiple things to look at as far as issues go, Bob. Let's look at them first, and then let's see what we can do to fix it.
Yeah, let's start off. I feel like the ones that are the most fixable. Uh, Tackling was kind of suspect in the second half, particular, but I think that's something. It's not been a problem for this staff last year, and really just this one game. It seemed like it wasn't the greatest, but I think that's not a big issue. The DBs need to turn around every now and then. I mean, that's one thing that drives me wild sometimes. I know it's a coaching technique, to watch the wide receiver.
Yeah, mirror the wide receiver, but at some point, you've got to have your head on a swivel.
There's issues with that philosophy. I mean, no interceptions and a lot of pass interferences. I mean, it's something that bothers me on that. But anyway, I'm not sure if that's going to be majorly fixed. But I mean, DBs looks better than it did last year at this point.
I like the fact that we are playing closer. We're not giving a whole lot of team-yard cushions comparatively in our first 2 years.
The offensive line, I felt like on the protections was kind of so-so. I'm hoping when you get Cooper Mays back, that might help that some, and I think it will some, just from knowing who to block, and as long as he's physically able.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, is it going to help from a mental standpoint? Absolutely. Will it help the team to go faster and put more stress on defense? Absolutely. Will he have issues when a 320-pound defensive tackle comes slamming down on him? Yeah, probably absolutely too.
Mm-hmm. I guess the biggest issue coming out yesterday was, Milton. Me and Tim have slightly different opinions on him going forward. I'm not ready to, get rid of him or nothing like that, but I'm definitely keeping Nico near me on the sideline if I'm Heupel. I just think, when the look on Joe coming in from the Michigan people was that he looked fantastic in practice. He will wow you. He will force you to get him in the games, and that it just doesn't translate when it comes to the games. And there may be truth to that. Because I watched the practice videos of him. I mean, he looks fantastic. The ball never hits the ground. He's pinpoint accurate. It is right where it needs to be. And I don't know, man. I'm not sure if he's just a practice player, not a gamer.
Well, we've had gamers here. Josh Dobbs was notorious for being a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Was lucky to get into games with his practice performance.
Yeah, everybody said that he did not look great in practice.
Yeah, but some players, have that issue. Joe for him, maybe one of them. I don't know, but I look, and I think the coaches somewhat agreed because they could have really pulled him. But I'm going to say that if you pull him right now, you risk losing him mentally all year long, and then you're basically down to one quarterback.
And I agree with that. Yeah, you just kind of got to ride with him at this point and hope he corrects the issues. I'm not. I guess another thing with him, I'm not sure if he sees the field very well. I mean, that it seems like there's some guys running open that I can see every now and then. It's hard to tell on TV. I wasn't at the game.
That's true, and we also don't know too. I know. Here's another thing: this offense occasionally, you're not scanning the whole field in certain places. Sure, you're not even told to look over here. You're looking at one side only. So if that's the play call, and you're like, I've got my choices are 1 and 2, maybe 3, and then run, then that's what you do.
Yeah, and maybe it's not Milton at all. Maybe it's Halsey. Maybe not doing the greatest, even though Heupel does most of the play calling. So I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but we've not been running on all cylinders there.
Well, and just not them. I mean, wide receivers, have been a disappointment, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that's not shown up is Dante Thornton. After a practice buzz all fall long, looked like a one and done guy, and so far that's what he's had. He's one catch and he's done.
Yep.
And his Squirrel's done okay. Ramel's been disappointing. Brew needs the ball more probably.
Mm-hmm.
But golly, I mean, these wide receivers got to help the quarterback out. So, yes, you want the ball here, they're not getting it there. God, you're getting your hands on the ball, catch the damn thing.
Yeah, I don't want to bypass all that stuff, but the area that looked the worst yesterday were the guys in the stripes. I mean, those guys was horrible, horrible. There's about 4 or 5 play calls in there, and I'm thinking, wow, that's
Normally I wouldn't, give a shout out to the refs,
yeah.
and they certainly didn't cause us to play poorly yesterday. But man, the most embarrassing crew on the field definitely was wearing the stripes. Man, golly, the announcers who generally will either ignore it or try to back them up. Multiple times they're going, where's that? I don't see this. This is often, but this call right here, we look on the replay for 15 times. I like to see what they're seeing on the replay booth. I mean, when the announcers can't cover for you, you've done a bad job. And they were embarrassing.
Yeah, there's some big plays. The fumble, absolutely was a fumble and recovery. And then the pass interference in the end zone that wasn't called. It should have been called against Austin P.
Well, I wouldn't have been too upset about that.
Had it not been called a whole game against us.
Yes. I mean, either call it or don't call it, but call it both ways.
Probably targeting, at least by the
Well, the rule of the book, that was clear targeting. He launched, thrust.
I'm not saying I like the call.
Yeah, I don't particularly do,
but by the book, that was targeting.
Yeah, there's no way you look at that and go, okay, check mark, yeah, that's that,
Right.
check mark, yeah, check that, and then you come back, go target. Come on, people.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of more plays, like the Norman Lott being called for and unnecessary roughness. That was rough. But anyway, that's enough about the refs.
Yeah.
There'll be other games. Talk about that. But is Milton, should we be concerned about Milton, Tim?
Well, I mean, obviously you're going to be concerned. He has to perform better than he has so far.
And do you think it's the offense? Is it Milton? Or
And defenses have made an adjustment.
I'm a little bit concerned about that. Georgia played too high safety against us. Virginia played too high safety. This team played too high safety against us. And that's designed to stop the long ball. You've got to pick them apart underneath, across the middle, on the slants. And really, to bring those safeties in some, Joe probably needs to run some more. I mean, we need some, whether by design, he's not a willing runner, really, and not really good at it, not great at it, not like Hooker or a Dobbs type.
Once he gets going, it could take us 60 yards. But
Yeah.
he don't have that elusiveness to wiggle out and get away and do things just like like you want to see. in a
Yeah,
quarterback.
I'm not going to, like again, I ain't going to say which time for Nico. It's not. But, see, I think where Joe's not a gamer, from everything I've heard, Nico is. When they do scrimmage work, he shines. I love his work in the pocket. I think he would be one that would be one to take off when you needed to take off. He has a great knack for that. Joe does not.
Yeah, that he does, but I think for what limited we've seen yet, we have seen him take off and move. My question is he doing it too soon? Is he missing some receivers doing that? That's always my concern with the running quarterback. Too many of them will take off too quick.
They do.
Leave a lot of opportunities.
There's too much. There's not those answers right there on film yet, for sure. But I do believe when Nico gets in there, just go ahead and put me down for saying there'll be a few missed passes. His accuracy is not super at this point. There's probably some technique work, some footwork, that type of stuff that needs to be worked on. But I do believe he's going to shine when he gets in there. That's what I mean, hopefully we never see him this year. Hopefully Joe lights it up. Hopefully score about 60 on Florida and still chucking it deep on the last play of the game in order to run it up more. That's what I hope. I hope Milton lights it up because I think it's best for this team. It's best for the future to get a guy who does well in drafts, such stuff like that. But I'm rooting for Milton. I like him, but I'm just not sold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I got down, but yeah, honestly, is it fixable? We're going to find out in the next couple of 3 weeks. We're, going down to the swamp, facing a USTA team that, or UTSA team that could be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, with South Carolina coming in, who Rattler has been on fire this year.
Yeah. If they get their offensive line situation worked out, watch out for that team. And historically, South Carolina, under Beamer, gets better as the year goes on.
Yeah, hopefully we're catching them a little early.
Yeah.
So before they get the offensive line.
They got major offensive line issues. Beamer, I don't think Rattler will make it through the season. I'll just go ahead and say that. I think injury-wise, he doesn't make it through the season, but he is lights out right now.
He's on fire. Of course, like was the game. That was Furman yesterday.
Right.
But he couldn't have played much better. But let's look at Rattler, since we're talking about South Carolina. Let's look at a couple of key games, Bob. I think the one out there that everybody was watching yesterday was Bama and Texas.
And Texas looked like the better team. I mean, Bama was bragging about that big offensive line, how they averaged, and I think it was right 334 pounds, 3 guys over 350. I think they gave up 5 sacks yesterday, and only averaged like 3-something yards a carry.
Yeah, barely had 100 yards rushing. They were not impressive.
Yeah, Milrose did not look great at all, barely 50%, 2 interceptions. Texas looked like the better team.
In Tuscaloosa.
In Tuscaloosa, yeah.
That was as big as anything.
First of their 2 losses in Tuscaloosa, I hope, this year.
Yeah. I think A&M looks a little bit better offensively, but defensively, they did not look good at all yesterday against Miami.
And we talked about that at the beginning of the season. Is that young talent on defense going to turn it around? Doesn't look like it. So that game does not look to be as tough as we thought it might be probably later on.
Other big games, Ole Miss looked solid against Tulane in a battle of top 25 teams. Kentucky struggled early with Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, it looked like they've got issues.
Yeah. The quarterback really is not
what they was hyping it up to be.
Yeah, he struggled too. What other games were out there yesterday, Bob?
Auburn beat California. Mississippi State beat their team. I can't remember who they played.
Yeah. I'd like to say the Auburn game. I do not like that.
Beat Arizona, I believe.
Where was that at?
Mississippi State, I think.
Okay.
I didn't watch any of it.
I know the Auburn game. I'm not a Hugh Freeze fan myself, but you go 2,000 miles. That's a long trip, and the kickoff was right around 11 p.m. Your 11 p.m. And pull off a big road win when you should be taking lights out. Get the bad boys. That was an impressive win, I thought.
Georgia very slow starting, but they kicked it into gear, won that game decisively. Missouri looked like trash. Their game.
Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah, barely won that game.
I think a repeating thing here is some slow starts from clearly better teams, which we definitely was one of those yesterday. And we don't want to overreact. It's hard not to, though. I mean, all we've got to go on is these first 2 ball games, then the first 3. And quite honestly, you're in October a lot of times where you really see what a team is.
Sure. So they need to play probably 2 good teams, 2 sound teams, before you really know what you got.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I guess we're going to maybe face one of those 2 teams next week, Bob.
Mm-hmm. I hope we come out with a W, Tim.
Amen.
Gotta beat the Gators. Gotta beat the Gators.
Good. Go Big Orange.
Go Vols.